Blues Matters, here again, this time with Albert Castiglia. Hello, Albert. Where are you today?
Hey, Colin. Where am I? I'm in my humble abode in Palm Bay, Florida, and I don't get to go home too often, but when I do, I usually sit in this chair that you see that I'm sitting in and watching sports. And that's what I'm usually doing when I'm not working.
You're working very, very hard just now.
Yes, it's a lot of work, but I'm not complaining. It's good work. It's fun. It's very rewarding. We're doing a lot of great tours, and whether it's with my band or with Mike and Bill Murray, just always it's always an adventure. I'll tell you that. It's never boring.
Talk about Bill Murray. What's the story behind him joining you in the Blood?
Well, his brother John, who's also an actor, was a big fan of Mike Zito and I. He was a fan of our bands individually, but he was also a fan of the Blood Brothers. And he kept telling his brother Bill about us for years and years. And then finally, Bill invited us to perform at his celebrity golf tournament in St. Augustine, Florida last year. He sat in with us and did 5 songs with us. And his brother told us it was the most fun he ever had playing music, or the most fun he had playing music in a long time. And so after that first encounter with him, he started coming to our shows. He started crashing our gigs. He came to our show in Vegas. He spent the week with us at the Blues Bender and appeared on our show. And then we did another show in Charlotte, North Carolina that he made a surprise appearance at. And that went extremely well. And then right after the Charlotte show, which was in November of last year, I got a call from Zito, and he said, hey, Bill wants to do more dates with us. And I'm like, that's fine. He could do whatever he wants with us. He's fine. No, he wants to do like a lot of dates with us, like 30 or something. So I'm like, well, that's fine with me, because Bill Murray wants to be in your band. Why not? Why not? So we started our first official tours with him, began in January, and it began in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. So it's been wonderful. He really works really hard at what he does, at anything. I think he takes a serious mindset. I mean, everybody knows him as the goofy, easygoing, affable comedian. But when it comes to the music, he's very serious. I mean, he's serious about everything. As I've gotten to know him, he just takes everything seriously. And he's a good percussionist, and he's a decent singer. But he works really hard at what he wants, and he wants things to be perfect. And he's got a good band for that, because it's a great group of guys that can work, that work easily with people. And he was just been a joy with him, having him around.
I mean, fair to say the camaraderie between Blood Brothers on stage is just amazing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's definitely like for lack of a better word, it's like a brotherhood with Bill and with Bill. And when Bill is in the band, we treat him the same. He's in our band, and we got his back, just like we have each other's back in the Blood Brothers. And that's the way he likes it. He wants to be a part of the band. He doesn't want to hog the spotlight. He just wants to play percussion and contribute and sing when he's asked. And he does his 5-6 songs, but he also lets Mike and I and Jimmy Vivino, who joined the band for the project, and Jimmy Carpenter as well, he lets us do our thing too. He lets us sing our handful of songs, and it feels like he's just an equal member of the band. And we treat him that way, and that comes with protecting him and having his back and helping him out whenever he needs it.
Anything you've learned from him being on stage with them?
Well, I learned from him when I was a youngster, because when I was a kid growing up in the States, I was a very shy kid. I didn't have a lot of friends. And back in the 80s, when he was putting out those movies, he just came off as a carefree, doesn't let I mean, his characters they were what I strived to be. I wish I could have been more like Bill's characters, just like easygoing. I think there was a movie he had called Meatballs. He put out a movie called Meatballs where he played a summer camp counselor, and he was just this goofy, easygoing guy. And I wanted to be like him, or I wanted to be like Dr. Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters, who was a scientist, but he didn't take himself too seriously. So when he goes up on stage, he has that same attitude. It's very inspiring. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons from really great musicians like Junior Wells and Sandra Hall and all the people that I grew up listening to. But in Bill's case, he just reinforces what I've learned all along, is that, not to take yourselves too seriously, take the craft seriously, and enjoy yourself and have a good time. When he goes up there and sings, he may not be like Pavarotti or the greatest singer in the world, but he sings with such conviction. and he puts everything he's got into his vocals when he sings, that it gets a rise out of people. So what it has done is reinforced what I've learned all along, is that if you put your heart and soul into what you do, good things will happen. And that's what I mean, I learned that lesson a long time ago, but watching Bill up there just reinforced those lessons. So many people are singing. Bill's got his share of songs. You know, it's fun. It's still a lot of sound checks at the same time, and it's hard to get sound checks done in an hour. Where a 3-piece or a 4-piece band, you could easily get a sound check done in 45 minutes, half an hour if things go right. But in a 10-piece, and it's 10 pieces of 10 artists with attention deficit disorder. So we're all playing over each other, and we're not stopping to do the sound check. It's really great, especially Zito. Zito loves to noodle. Zito just noodles during the sound. He just can't stop playing. He plays. He can't take a break and let the sound check happen.
And how's Mike liking the touring with Bill?
He loves it because Mike is a comedic fanatic. He's a comedy fanatic. He loves comedians and he loves comedic actors. And Bill is like on the top of his list. So Mike is like he's like a super fan. You know, he's like a fanboy. In the beginning, he was like that, and he had to break out of that kind of mentality. He still, I think, in the beginning, it was so surreal for him to be on stage with him, one of his heroes. But eventually he broke out of that, and he, you know, he became an equal for us all, and Mike got around to it. But Mike is a tremendous admirer of Bill's. I mean, he just worships him, as do I. I mean, I think he's great. I just think, and I've gotten to know his whole family through Bill. Bill has a very large family. Bill comes from a very large Irish Catholic family. There's like 8 siblings in the family, and every time I go on the road with him, I get to meet one of his siblings. They're scattered all over the country, and the more that I hang out with Bill, the more that I fall in love with his family, because they're just great people. He's got a sister who I just met in Indiana who's a nun. She's a Dominican nun, and she's one of the sweetest people I've ever met. And so it never ends. It's wonderful hanging out with Bill, but I mean, it's just as wonderful hanging out with his family.
And touring, how did you get on at Red Rocks? That must have been something else. Woo! Tell us about that.
Best venue I've ever played at in my life. That was surreal, because a couple of years ago, my wife and I went to see Lyle Lovett at Red Rocks. I was on tour and I had a few days off, and so Michelle and I made a week, a couple days vacation out of it, and went to a baseball game the night before. But then we went to see Lyle Lovett at Red Rocks, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And I like Lyle Lovett a lot. My wife's more of a fan than I am, but it wasn't just that. I mean, Lyle Lovett had the Denver Symphony Orchestra and his large band on stage with him, and to watch that happen with downtown Denver in the background at night, it was just very spiritual. And I remember telling my wife, I said, wouldn't it be great if we played here someday? And then 2 years later, we get a call, and you know, Bill joined the band, and Big Head Todd from Big Head Todd and the Monsters is close to Bill. Found out he was playing with us and invited us to be on a part of his 40th anniversary show at Red Rock. So it was Big Head Todd and the Monsters, Warren Haynes, and us. And I couldn't believe it. It was just a great sounding venue, great people working there. I got to meet Warren Haynes, which for the first time, which was amazing. I'm a Kung Fu practitioner. I do Wing Chun. So I got up on the very top during sound check. I got up to the very top of the seats, and I did my form overlooking the Rockies. And it was an incredible moment. Just amazing. And I wish that for everyone. I wish every musician that I know that I like could play that place. It's a once in a lifetime event. I'll have you know also, Colin, that Red Rocks is the only venue in the United States that the Beatles did not sell out when they toured.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yes.
You too played there.
That's right. The famous video. There's a great video that MTV used to play all the time, and it was them doing Sunday Bloody Sunday at Red Rocks. Iconic video. And you could see Bono singing and smoke's blowing out of his mouth, fog, because it was so cold. And yeah, I'd wanted to play there ever since I seen that video in the early 80s.
Yeah, it just looks amazing. Amazing place.
Have you been?
I've not been, no.
Oh, I think you should go once in your life. It's worth the trip. It doesn't even matter who you see there. It could be a band you don't particularly like, but just to be a part of it, to be in that scenery, nothing like it.
And you've got a big tour coming up again?
I do. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. Oh yes. We have a few dates with Bill coming up. We're doing the Blues Bender in Las Vegas, and then we have to fly out right away and do a NASCAR event, a racing event. Yes, they're making Bill the Grand Marshal.
Are they?
His adventures that have followed since he joined the band.
And in between times, you've made another album with the Blood Brothers. How did you get time to do that?
We had to reschedule numerous times. We were supposed to do this back. We were supposed to do the record back in December, and then it kept getting pushed because we kept getting more dates, tour dates, and then Bill's additional dates made it a challenge. But we were able to fit some time in the spring, and we managed to do the album in about 4 days, I think, in St. Louis, and we self-produced it. Mike and I produced it, and it's a great record. It really, it was a true collaboration because the whole band was together on it, and there were no surprises. We went in with some songs, and there were times where we ran out of lyrics, and I had to provide lyrics for a song, for a groove that Mike might have written. Actually, that was the case in the ballad. What's the song? Best I Can.
Best I Can.
Mike had Mike said, I got this chord change, but I don't have any lyrics, and he started playing it, and I had some lyrics lying around that I had for years that seemed to fit the mood of the music. So I just threw it on there, and it fit perfectly, and that was probably the closest collaboration Mike and I have ever had. When we collaborate, he usually has songs. He usually has a groove, and he sends it to me by email, and I'll have some lyrics for it, and then I'll maybe work on what he's on the riff that he sends me. But we were actually in the room together when we put that song together. It was a good time. It was a really good time to be in there with just us and no producer. It was interesting.
And that was at St. Louis again, wasn't it?
Yes, St. Louis, yes.
4 days.
Yeah, about 4 days. It didn't take us very long. We're so in tune with each other musically that it was pretty hard to not get stuff done in a short period of time. Mike and I have a great chemistry together alone, but all the guys in the band, but they just click right away. So it wasn't a big challenge.
Talk about some of the songs. When your song Can't Be a Prophet, do you feel like that when you come back from a tour?
I should preface by saying I love touring blues musician or a touring. What's to happen is you go yourself, and after years of hustling, and you go home and you try to work at home, and they want to pay you the same amount of money that they paid you when you were a struggling local musician, and it's really weird. And I had a recent business encounter that inspired that song, and a good friend of mine who wrote a bunch of songs for me, Graham Drought, he told me once, he said, you can't be a prophet in your hometown, which he kind of took liberties with I guess it was a biblical quote, but it's not exactly that. It's something else. I forgot what the biblical quote was, but he was right. And then I really got a taste of it in the last year because things have been going really well for me. But man, you come home and you got some time off, and they ask you, you get an offer to do a gig, and it's like, man, I appreciate you wanting me there, but I can't, you go in there and you're working for lowball money again. And it came out of frustration. The song came out of a frustration, out of some dealings that I had with the venue that I've been with for a long time. But a great song came out of it. So I'm not totally bitter. I embrace my angry self sometimes, and sometimes good songs come out of it. But that's how I write. I write songs out of extreme joy, extreme sadness, or extreme anger. That's how it works, which explains why I'm a basket case.
Talk about The Best I Can. Talk about that song.
Well, I had these lyrics lying around for years, and just these melancholy lyrics, which is how I write. I had them lying around for many years. Didn't have any music that quite fit the mood. And then we're going in the studio, and I didn't know it. I don't know if I was going to use those lyrics or not for this. I don't think I had any intention of using those lyrics for the session. But Mike had these great chord changes, and he didn't have lyrics for it. I said, I got this great, and he starts playing these. It's like, man, it's very Sam Cookish, very Otis Redding kind of thing. And I was like, let me see something. So I dig in my book. I got an organizer, and I had these lyrics, and I started singing along. It was like something out of a movie, out of a musical or something. He started playing, and I broke out the lyrics, and I just started singing the lyrics along. Had never heard Mike's music before, this song before that he was playing, and I just naturally started singing along. The lyrics just naturally fit with the mood of the song, and it just flowed and flowed. And I think I was short a verse, but because we were on such a roll with while we were playing it, practicing it, the lyrics just the last verse just came naturally. And so it was just one of those magical moments in the studio where I took some lyrics that at one point years ago meant something to me, but I had no place for them in a song, and it was able to make use of it and put it and found a chord progression that fit perfectly with it.
The instrumental Solar Serenade.
Yes, sir.
Where did that come from?
Well, that came from Zito. Zito had the idea, and I had an idea for an instrumental, but my instrumentals always fall by the wayside when it comes to Blood Brothers collaborations. So Mike had this. I'm going to put the one that I wrote for the Blood Brothers, I'm going to put on my next album anyway. But Mike had this great, he had this great hook. And like I said, it just, when it works, it works. And the band was really flowing on it. We had been practicing it at the sound checks with Bill for a few months. So we had already had a knowledge of the song. And then when it came to the name, Mike wanted to name it after, he wanted to name it after St. Louis or some part of St. Louis that meant a lot to him growing up. And so Soulard, he wanted to call it something else, and it sounded cheesy. So I said, what about Soulard Serenade? Because Soulard is a neighborhood in St. Louis, and we happened to be in that neighborhood where we were recording. So we wound up calling it that. So great song. Love it. And I love the fact that he changed up the solo break for me and it made it different for me to riff over. I really love that change where it modulates from D to E. And I got to stretch out and get a little experimental and get a little outside the box, which I've been doing a lot lately with my band. Say hello. Say hello to Colin. But
Ella Fitzgerald.
Ella Fitzgerald Castiglia III. Ella's my Fitzgerald is quite possibly my favorite singer of all time. Maybe neck and neck with Aretha Franklin, but as far as jazz goes, she was the tops. And when my old dog died, she died on the same day Aretha Franklin died. And I had no intention of buying a dog after my old dog died. And then we found her and we just connected. And I wanted to call her Aretha, but Aretha just died and I wasn't ready to call her Aretha. So I said, I'll name her Ella, after Ella Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald Castiglia III. Sorry. I love my dog. I'm not ashamed.
You do.
Not ashamed.
You do. So, carrying on about the album, Do What You Got To, where does that come from?
That was actually inspired by Bill. Yeah, because being on tour with Bill has been very inspiring because the man is 75 years old and he has the energy of a 25-year-old. I mean, he's constantly on the go. There was a trip we did to New York. We had 2 nights in New York, one in just outside the city at the Capitol Theater in Port Chester. And the other was in Midtown Manhattan at Sony Hall. And in that weekend, he managed to squeeze. He had to perform. It was the same weekend as the Saturday Night Live anniversary, a show that he had been a big part of in the early days. And he had to scramble to Radio City Music Hall, do a performance there right before he had to play with us. And the venue was about an hour from the city. So he did the first half hour of this show, jumped in a shuttle, made it to our show with 10 minutes to spare. The next day, he had to go to Connecticut because his son is an assistant basketball coach at the University of Connecticut. So the same day we had a performance in New York City, he drives to Connecticut to watch his son's basketball game, gets on a train to the city from Connecticut, shows up at our meet and greet 5 minutes before the meet and greet, does the meet and greet, then goes to 30 Rock to do some pre-production for the Saturday Night Live special the next day, makes it back to the theater to play with us with 10 minutes to spare. Another example of his energy is that we did Red Rocks, which, as great of a venue as it is, it could be very taxing if you're not hydrated because it's way up in the mountains. And man, it took a lot out of all of us. But that man did the show, flew to New York, changed some clothes, and was on a flight to Madrid to play percussion with a cellist for a month. Toured with a cellist right after he did Red Rocks. So his energy and his way he lives kind of inspired me to write that song. He spent all these years grinding out, doing what he had to do, doing Saturday Night Live, doing all these movies, doing everything that he had to do to succeed in his life at 75, where he's doing what he wants to do now. He's doing these things. He's playing with us because he wants to play with us, not because he has to. He's doing projects he wants to do at age 75. He's going and living life on his own terms at 75. And it was quite inspiring to the point where I wrote this song. And it was called, yeah, you got to do what you gotta till you can do what you wanna. And I think that's how we should all, that's how we should look at life. I mean, when you're early in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, you got to grind it and work and you got to tour. And then God willing, you get into your 70s and you get into a position where you can do the same things you can do, just not on the same pace, and you could do what you want. And that's, I told Bill that, and I told Bill he inspired the song, but he kind of, I think he thinks I was full of, and you know, I don't think he believes me, but he really was. He was the muse on that song.
You get a chance to rest once in a while? You've been at the baseball game?
I did. I had one day. I've actually got a couple of weeks off on this stretch, but before that, I had no time off. I've been on the road since January, and I'm not complaining. It's just it's been a handful. Nonstop touring since January, and it's good. I've been able to, you know, I don't have to worry about the bills for a little bit. And look, after what we went through in 2020, I don't complain about the work, but it is nice to have some time off to be able to enjoy a little baseball. I'll have you know, though, I think you'll find this quite amusing, is that I own stock in a wee Scottish football team called the Caledonian Braves.
All right,
Are you familiar with them?
I am, yes,
I own stock in that team. I am an owner. I am a minority owner of the Caledonian Braves.
Right.
That's how much of a sports fan I am. And a fan of the Scots, because I was compelled to buy stock in the team after I watched the Euro Cup a couple of years ago, and I saw the Scottish fans walking through the streets of, I believe it was Munich, and they had to play Italy, chanting. They were chanting, "Deep fry your pizza. I'm gonna deep fry your pizza." I became a fan of the Scottish football fans ever since, and I found an opportunity to buy stock in the Caledonian Braves. Maybe we'll go to a game next time I come up. We'll go. Tickets are on me because I own the team.
Are you going to be coming over to the UK with Billy?
We're working on it. We're working on next year. Spring of next year is the plan.
Excellent.
Yeah, working on it.
Have you road tested all the songs on the album?
Only a handful right now because we haven't had a lot of opportunity to rehearse. About half of the songs on the album we've been able to pull off. Come on, Phil. Half of the songs we've been able to do. We definitely use Soulard. We've done, Soulard. What else have we done? We've done the J.J. Cale song, Low Down. Mike's got a song, Alive. We've done that one. Once we get some time, I mean, next year is really when the album hasn't even been released yet. So it wouldn't be good to do all the songs before the album officially comes out. So when it does, yeah, we'll be working on doing all of them. The band's been itching. They've been pushing me to do Prophet. And yeah, I think that'll be the next one I do on stage with the band.
What about your own band? What about your own band?
Well, we're going in the studio in December. We're actually going to the UK to record the album. Yes.
Where?
Yep. I think we're going to go to Abbey Road to record it. And the plan is December, and I think the plan is for a early summer or late spring release. And so I'm writing songs for that, and it's going to be great because we got Dave Gross, who's going to produce the album, who's this tremendous musician who produced one of my albums. He produced my Solid Ground album. He produced Victor Wainwright's album. They got a Grammy nomination. A tremendous producer, a great musician, and a big fan of the Beatles and the EMI/Abbey Road sound. He's got a lot of the equipment, similar equipment at his house. His equipment very similar to the equipment they use at Abbey Road. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. I think the plan is also to make a stop in Birmingham, where I will pay homage to the late great Ozzy Osbourne. It'll be a good trip.
Yeah, sounds it. Will you be playing at all?
I'm not sure. I think that we're gonna try to go to. I think we're gonna go to a couple of jams here and there, but I don't think we have any official gigs planned for December. But yeah, that's the plan.
Any other plans, collaborations?
Trying to think if there is anything going there. No, not really. I think 4 projects. I'm doing 4 projects right now. So I'm doing my band, doing the Blood Brothers with Bill, and then there's a project I'm doing with DK Harrell and Chris Kane called The Three Kings, which is a tribute to BB Albert and Freddie. And so they really those 4 projects keep me busy. So there's not a lot of room for collaborating. Of course, if any of my friends want me to be a part of any project that there's, I'm open. Well, you know, but I'll nothing yet. But I mean, I've been doing 4 things at once. So.
And what keeps you how do you get the energy to keep doing this?
Well, I take better care of myself. I think that's a big part of it. Well, I mean, this is all I've ever wanted to do since I was 12.
So I have be careful what you wish for. It's a lot of work, but I think a big part of that was me taking better care of myself. I don't drink quite so much anymore. I very rarely drink now. I've always been a social drinker. I only drank when I played. I'd be at the pub or something playing, and then I would drink. The problem was I was doing it. We were playing 200 days a year, so it just kind of crept up on me, and it was making me tired. And once I started the project, the Blood Brothers project with Zito, we were playing 5, 6 nights in a row, and there just wasn't any room for the drinking anymore. So once I curbed and stopped the drinking, my stamina improved, and I just I didn't feel weighed down by it and weighed down my life. I just have a better outlook on things because of it. And that's really helped me deal with the long stretches. It's a wonderful life I have. It's the greatest job I've ever had. And I wouldn't trade my life for anybody, not even people who are more successful than I am. I got a great life, but there's some discipline involved in it. And as you get older, you need to do that. You have to take better care of yourself. I'm not going to preach to somebody in their 20s what to do, but certainly if there's somebody my age still hitting it hard and living life like they're in their 20s, I would have a heart-to-heart talk with them because this is a job, and you gotta take it seriously. It's just I think cleaning myself up a little bit and pacing myself and getting rest whenever I can has helped me really approach touring in a much more productive light and positive light. I like touring. I enjoy it, but it's a grind, man. That flying could be as much of a grind as driving. Jumping on planes and being crammed in a plane with other people and people not knowing how to act on planes and dealing with the cramped space. It takes a toll on you, particularly in your hips. I'm feeling it in my hips right now. Riding in vans and flying on planes. Like my left hip hurts like crazy, but the rest of my body feels awesome. And it's great. It's a great life. There's no reason to hate this life. A lot of people say, "Oh, the life, it's all the touring, and this and that," and they cry about it. What are you going to do? I mean, this is all I know, and I'm glad this is all I know. I got friends who have to drag themselves to an office 8, 10 hours a day working for somebody else, and it's hard. Life is hard. So you might as well do what you want. I'm doing what I want.
What's your advice to up-and-coming musicians?
But you're going to keep doing it. And if you don't love it, find something else to do. So like I said, it's a grind. There are a lot of obstacles in this business, and it takes a toll on your psyche. It takes a toll on your self-esteem, and it never ends. That part of the business never ends. Even in your 50s, when you've done so many great things. When I look back at all the great things I've done, there are still people out there who undervalue you, who don't think you belong, don't think you should be doing this. You just have to fight through the negativity, be selfish, and do what makes you happy. And that's what I did. I mean, I had a lot of people tell me over the years that I had no business doing this.
What made you want to be a musician in the first place?
And he used to have like this little band. Well, it wasn't really a band. It was him and his buddy, and they played drums and guitar. And they were kind of like the Black Keys, only not as good. It was just a drum and guitar thing. But I saw them having so much fun, and I would drawn to it. And my uncle had an acoustic guitar, and I started messing with it. I really enjoyed it. I took a liking to it. And I started playing a lot of classic rock at the beginning when I was 12, 13, 14. Yeah, it was a classic rock. It was, Hendrix and Bob Dylan. And then Eric Clapton was kind of the one who steered me into the blues thing, because he had put out a live album called Just One Night. It was a double live album from Tokyo. It had like a third of the songs on the album were blues. And so that was like, okay, this is pretty cool stuff he's playing here. Maybe I should delve into the original blues. I started listening to B.B. King. But really, I was kind of stuck, not stuck, but I was kind of like locked into Clapton a lot and John Mayall records. And then I bought a Muddy Waters album called Hard Again, and it was produced by Johnny Winter. And that was the album that really changed my life, because the band was so raw and had so much balls. I'd never heard anything like it. I was growing up in the 80s, where there wasn't a lot of great music of substance being put out. There were exceptions, of course. I liked the hard rock that was coming out in the 80s. Bruce Springsteen certainly put out some great music out at that time. There were very few exceptions. But when I heard the blues, the real Chicago blues for the first time, was as fresh as anything that was coming out in and I loved it. And that's what really changed my trajectory and solidified my path as a blues artist or a blues rock artist or whatever people care to characterize me. If it wasn't for Muddy Waters, I mean, Muddy Waters was the one that changed it.
Yeah.
Then I heard him, it was over for me. Everything changed.
And if you weren't a musician, what do you think you'd end up being?
Miserable in an office somewhere. I was right out of college. When I graduated college, I went and got a job working as a social worker for the state of Florida welfare system. I was actually a welfare worker. And man, I remember meeting a guy there who had been there 30 years. This guy worked in the same place for 30 years. And I came in there and I was making the same low amount of money that he was making. And he looked beat by life. He was pulling his hair out. And I looked at that and I looked at him and I was like, man, I hope I won't end up like that. You know, I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for music. Music was always in my life. So I suppose I wouldn't be a total mess. Keith Richards said it once. I read his book. It might have been in his book or an interview, but he said, I think it was in his book, where he said if he spent his life being a plumber, he'd still be playing music. So, I mean, I would imagine if I was still a social worker for the state of Florida, I'd still have time for music. But I don't know where I'd be. I wouldn't be as happy, that's for sure. And I think I'd make more of a difference in people's lives as a musician than I ever did as a caseworker. I believe that. So I'm glad that I'm glad that's just a what if, because yeah, I just don't see myself doing anything else.
Great. And why not?
I'm very fortunate. Well, I got a taste of working a real job. 4.5 years at the welfare office before I got the job with Junior Wells. And that's when I really started touring full time, was in 1997. And I haven't had a real job since. And my life would be very different had it not been for the kindness of, the small acts of kindness that I encountered along the way in my life. I'm very fortunate.
Absolutely. And what does the blues mean to you?
Well, it's everything. It's why I have the life I have. The blues has brought me a decent living, but it took a long time to get to that point where it became a decent living. But I was able to meet a woman who believed in me and believed in what I was doing and was able to stick with me through hard times and through lean times. And it's brought me that. It's brought me the life. I have this wonderful life. I just got a house in a nice little neighborhood that I was actually had a hand in purchasing. When I met my wife, she owned the house in Florida, in South Florida. But I actually had a part in us buying this new house that we've had for the last year, and it's because of the blues. I've met so many great people, you included, Colin, because of the blues. This life has brought me so much. So it's everything. It's everything to me. I mean, my family is everything too. But it's in terms of my career, I couldn't ask for anything, a better career. It's given me so much. I get to go to Scotland every now and then. I get to play all over the world. I get to meet really cool people. It's wonderful. The blues is everything.
What have you to say to the Blues Matters public and your fans?
Well, I want to thank the folks on the other side of the pond for their support. I love playing in the UK. It's a lot of fun. If it wasn't for the great musicians of the UK, I don't know what my style of guitar would be. And I look forward to seeing you guys in person. And I love y'all. Thank you for your support.
Excellent. Thank you, Albert.